morning, future mommies. I know it's been a very, very long time since I have posted. I think the last time I posted a video was like November of 2020, and as you can see, a lot has happened since then. I'm going to try not to make this video too long. My husband and I are actually going to be taking our first mini vacation with him later today, so I'm going to have to wake him up, get moving, start packing, all that kind of stuff. And I'm talking quietly because he's asleep and my husband's asleep. So, and I don't know, I'm just that kind of person that when I'm filming a video, I don't know, I don't want people around. Even my husband, I've been with him for 13 years. And I just, I don't know. It feels weird filming a video with him in the other room. So, go figure. But yeah, so a lot has changed. I think in my last video, I had just gotten home from physical therapy and was still struggling with my back. And we were in the process of talking about going to see a fertility specialist. Sorry, I'm having to rock because I know the minute that I stop, he will wake up and then I'll have to start all over. So I'm trying to backtrack. Sorry. Anyway, so yeah, last time I posted was November or December of 2020. So after that video was posted, we went through the holidays, my husband and I, with our families, and it was pretty hard. We reached our 1 year mark. Actually, I think I recorded, now that I think about it, I think that video was almost a full year of trying to conceive or something like that. So that was kind of hard for us to have to realize, this obviously isn't working. We have to go see somebody to figure out what's going on. So in January of 2021, I called a fertility clinic where I worked, and made an appointment for March. I had to wait 2.5 months to get in, which was really sucky. But in between that time, we were trying to be as proactive as possible. My husband went ahead and did a sperm sample, and come to find out, he had some motility issues, I guess. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out how that came about because we got pregnant with him. So I'm trying to figure out how that worked. Anyway, so January, he got that done. We got the results back, and that was really, really hard on him and both of us. It was a very, very difficult time for me especially. And of course, my husband blamed himself, even though it's really not his fault. And I feel like motility isn't nearly as bad as low sperm count or even mobility or whatever. Anyway, it's not the worst thing. It was something that could have been very manageable if it had to be, but obviously when you get news like that, especially for a guy, it's difficult. He couldn't help but blame himself. So up until our appointment, at least I was pretty stressed out and upset, and I was pretty depressed. I was in a really, really bad state mentally. So March comes. We had our first consultation on March 22nd of 2021. Remember that date. It will make sense in a few minutes. So March 22nd, 2021, we went to the reproductive department at my work, and we met with our reproductive doctor, who was absolutely amazing. Everybody there was just so wonderful. And I'm so thankful and so blessed that I, had them as my support. They were absolutely amazing. So we went ahead and, went over all my results that I had done the year before. Of course, everything came back normal. He kind of went over Andrew's results, and still didn't buy the whole motility thing because he was like, his count is very, very high. So I feel like that kind of weighs out the fact that he's got low motility or some kind of doctory way that he said it. I can't remember. I still have the paperwork. Um, but basically, he was not concerned about it at all. So we actually scheduled our first IUI for mid-April of 2021. And, we're excited, we're anxious. We had to do our first shot. Like, I had to do my first injection. We were actually going out of town. We're going back to the same place that we were up at my in-laws' place up in the mountains in Georgia. And my mother-in-law actually gave me my first injection, like my first, therapy or infertility injection, I guess. Sorry, I'm like really, really tired. He got up really early this morning, and I haven't really been able to sip my coffee, so I'm like kind of out of it. But anyway, she gave me my very first like ovulation injection or whatever shot. And so went in, about a week later. The IUI went really well. It was super easy. I didn't have any pain, which was nice. I'd heard some really bad horror stories about it hurting really bad or you having like really intense cramping during and after, and I just didn't have that. So we went home that day and I just rested and, tried to take it easy that next 2 weeks. And ended up taking a pregnancy test on April 18th of 2021 and it came back negative. Horrible, horrible day. I had to go to work that day. I had to get up early because I had to go to work and I just cried. I just cried on my toilet, tried not to wake my husband up, and it was just absolutely heartbreaking. I was devastated. He was really upset, but he's my husband and he was trying to, think positive and was like, it's okay. Like, we can do a couple more. We can do up to 5 IUIs if we need to. And, he's always been very supportive, even if he's feeling a type of way. He was always, especially through all of this, he was as supportive as he knew how to be. And he always tried really hard to be positive, and that really irked me sometimes. Anyway, so my mental health really did a bad spiral after that. I was super upset, obviously, but I tried to kind of pick myself up afterwards, and I tried really hard to, get myself in a better mode, I guess. I decided to start talking to a therapist again, and she was awesome. And so we had scheduled our second IUI, and for I think like June or whatever. And so I was like, this was May 2021. And I was just like, okay, let's do this. Like, or no, it was for May. I'm sorry. It was a couple weeks later. So I was like, all right, let's do this. I'm gonna, put my big girl panties on and just suck it up. Came back negative, but it's okay. We'll make it through. So going for my base ultrasound, and I get a call a couple hours later that they tell me they found a pretty good sized uterine polyp in my uterine cavity, and they could not do the IUI. When I tell you, I was at work when I got the call, and it really wasn't that big of a deal when I look back on it. It was a very, very simple thing to get rid of. I don't know why I was so upset. Maybe it was the fact that I guess it was the fact that we had to put the second round of IUI on a delay, and I was just really upset about that. I'll never forget that day that I got that call. I told my coworker, like, I just need to walk away. I'm about to cry. I need to take a second. So I walked off and I ran into the sweetest guy, just some random dude. I worked in a hospital and I was literally walking up down the hall, crying my eyes out. He pulled me aside and was like, "Are you okay? Do you need anything?" And I just laid like all my business out on the table. I was just over it. And he was so sweet, and he like gave me a side hug, COVID. And he was like, I know I don't know you, but hope you know that I'm praying for you. My best friends um, actually went through the same thing. They struggled for like 2 or 3 years, and finally it happened for them. So just try to remember that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and just because it's not working right now, just because you're not getting this IUI right now, doesn't mean that something great could happen in the next couple months and you just don't know it. And in my head, I was like, okay, dude, this is really sweet of you to say this, but like, that's not going to happen. If I could go back and thank that guy, I so would. I didn't even get his name, nothing, but he was the sweetest man ever. Ugh, anyway, so I went home that day super discouraged, super upset, obviously. Um, we had already planned to do the injection already, like the shot, and my um, infertility doctor was like, since we can't do the IUI, you could still do timed intercourse, which is where, you still do the shot, have sex around your, still having sex around your ovulation. It's just timed intercourse. You just kind of do it yourself. So we were like, you know what, whatever, we'll just, I guess, try that. Did the injection, had sex on the days that we needed to, and still nothing. So they had already scheduled the procedure for me to get the polyp taken out, and I was scheduled for June 14th of 2021. So this was, a couple weeks before that. I had taken the pregnancy test, and, my doctor said, like, it's probably not going to happen. If it does, we're going to have to be really careful because of the polyp. It could put you at risk for miscarriage. So honestly, if it comes out negative, it's really safer that way. But if you guys still want to try, you can. So of course we did, and obviously 2 weeks later, I took a pregnancy test. It came back negative. And of course, I was bummed out. My husband was bummed out. And at that point, I was just like, I don't know. I didn't know what to think. I was just ready to get the surgery or the procedure. I don't want to call it a surgery. It was an outpatient procedure, so I'm trying not to call it a surgery. But I was just ready for it to get done. I was ready to get the thing out of me, and I was ready to start my second round of IUI. Like, I was ready. So went in on the 14th of June, I'm sorry. Had the procedure. Super easy, super chill. I did end up having kind of a bad reaction. I ended up having a lot of bleeding and had to go into the hospital a couple days later, and it was just really super stressful, and oh god, it was awful. And it just took forever. Like, I ended up having a really bad period afterwards too, and it was just a hot mess. So after that, my husband was gone for military leave. I was really upset. I was stressed out. He wasn't here. He had to leave like right after I was in the hospital and everything for the bleeding. And I remember when he got back, like a couple weeks later, he was gone for his annual training for the military. And when he came back, he was like, I have a surprise trip for you. We're going to go up to Athens, which is, a place where the Georgia Bulldogs are. That's where my husband graduated college. We're going to go up to Athens for the weekend, and we're just going to chill. We're going to relax. And we had basically talked to each other and was like, we're done. We're done. Like, this is taking a toll on our marriage. It's taking a toll on our relationship. We're so stressed out all the time. He's like, you're depressed. I've been really sad too because I see that you're upset, and this isn't worth it. We're still young. We're not even 30 yet. We still have time. And we had decided we were going to delay the IUI, the second round, because we just wanted some time to process, to let my body heal after the removal of the polyp. It was actually a polyp and a uterine fibroid, and they were both really, really large. So my doctor was like, it's good we got them out when they did, because that could be part of the reason why you were having so much bleeding and pain. And so having those out was good. But we had just decided, like, we're not going to worry about this anymore. We had actually started planning a trip to Europe. my husband decided he was going to try to go back for his master's degree. He had signed up for school to start in August. And we were just like, we're just going to move on. We're going to let whatever happens happen. And I stopped tracking my cycles. I stopped tracking ovulation. Um, and my brain just went, I'm over it. I'm talking to a therapist. I'm going to enjoy the time that I have with my husband. He's been gone for 2 weeks. You know, I spent some time with my best friend, and I got together with my coworkers a few weeks later. And I wasn't thinking about it anymore. I was just over it. So we went and we had an amazing time on our trip, came back, and I remember the day I was supposed to get my period, I was going to a brunch with a bunch of my coworkers. And it was weird because I was due to get my period either that day or the day after. And I usually get like pretty intense period symptoms. I had some mood swings and everything. And so I thought my period was coming, but I wasn't spotting before, which I usually do. And my boobs were unusually sore, like so sore to the touch that I couldn't touch them. And my husband couldn't either. So that I found strange. But I just thought, I might just be having a really bad period and my hormones might be out of whack because I just had two huge, like, little growths removed. So it's no wonder that I'm feeling really super crappy. My first cycle I kind of figured was going to be kind of wacky. But it still my period hadn't come yet. So I was like, okay, I'll probably get it in a couple days. I had been like 3 or 4 days late before, so I didn't think anything of it. So 3 days go by, 4 days go by, and then 6 days go by. I'm almost a week late, which is very unusual for me. The most I've been late is like maybe 3 to 4 days, tops. And that only happened, when I was really stressed or sick or something. Never a week late. I knew something was up. I was feeling kind of off, super, super moody, like super moody. I've never been that moody before. Extreme breast pain and tenderness. I was having some nausea. And again, didn't really think anything of it because I had had all that stuff before, even nausea I had had because going off the pill, my body went really crazy. And I had nausea like every month for the first couple months after I went off the pill. So I thought it was just a fluke. Didn't think anything of it. So we go to, my grandmother had passed away early last year from COVID, and my dad's side of the family wanted to do a memorial for her last year. And my aunt and uncle, my dad's sister, and her husband have a lake house about an hour away from where we live. So they got the whole side of my dad's family together out at the lake, and we did our memorial for her and met up with my family and stuff. And I still hadn't gotten my period. And I'm really, really close with one of my cousin's wives. So she's technically my cousin too. She was telling me the whole time, like, let's go take a pregnancy test. Like, we'll just go up to the store and grab one and you can take one while you're here. And I was just like, no, like, that's just not necessary. I know it's my period. I know my period's going to come. Like, I just had 2 big growths removed from inside my uterine cavity. Like, this is what that is. And she's like, okay, but I think you're pregnant. I'm like, yeah, right. Okay. And so it kind of was like back and forth in my head that evening. Went to bed that night. My husband and I woke up the next day and went to church, and we were actually in the process of trying to buy a house out where we live now. And we actually bought a house in the neighborhood that we're in now where we looked. So we went straight from church to our neighborhood and talked with somebody because it was a new construction neighborhood at the time. And sorry, I'm having to like readjust here. So it was a new construction at the time, and I still hadn't gotten my period. And I'm like, okay, this is like almost over a week. It was like 7 days past my period. And I was just like, okay, this is getting kind of weird. But, went to meet with this guy. Are you waking up, Schnookums? Went to meet with this guy, Ended up loving the house, loving everything, all the info that they told us, and decided we wanted to go with one of the lots. So we get home that afternoon. I'll never forget, I sat in the car with my husband for a minute, and I'm like, I still haven't got my period, babe. He goes, well, let's go in and take a pregnancy test. I'm like, no, no, no. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be upset today. Like, we had a really good day. We found a place that we're going to have a house. Like, I don't want to ruin it. And he's like, well, we really should probably go ahead and have you take one so that way we know that this is just your body having a flip out since you got that stuff removed. He's like, just go ahead and take it. We won't expect anything. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I go in. I had two of the cheapies. I had a cheapie, a first response, and a digital. And I remember a few days before that, I'd went ahead and bought a pregnancy test because I figured, like, if I don't get my period, I'll go ahead and take it. If I do get my period, I'll just have it for, the next IUI. So I went ahead and took all three. And ironically, my husband had to go to the bathroom. Are you awake? Ironically, my husband had to go to the bathroom. So I take the pregnancy test, and he stays back in the bathroom and uses the bathroom. And I will tell you, that was the longest 3 minutes of my life, waiting for those tests to go through. I was shaking. I was like, who's that? I was shaking. I was scared. It was absolutely terrible. I was absolutely terrified. And the funny thing is, after he got done using the bathroom, he checked the tests, like full on looked at them, and didn't know what they said. So he had seen that they were positive before I did. He just didn't know how to read them because I'd only taken the strips. I'd taken the first response and the mom med, was it mom med? It's not mom med. It was easy at home. That's what it was. I took an easy at home strip and a first response, but just like, the regular one. I hadn't taken the digital yet. So I guess he couldn't read what they said. So he comes out and he says, I think they're done. And I'm like, what do you mean you think they're done? He's like, well, I looked at them. I'm like, what do they say? He's like, oh, I don't know. I can't read it. So initially I'm like, okay, they're negative, because I really thought that he knew like 2 lines means yes. I look at those tests, and when I tell you guys, I fell to the floor. Like, my husband had to catch me because I was in so much shock. I couldn't believe it. I mean, even just thinking, like looking back on it, thinking about it, it just gives me butterflies, because I was so convinced that my body was just being crazy and having a reaction to the polyp and the fibroid being removed. Like, my husband and I got pregnant on our own. And I was just like, how is this possible? We have been trying by ourselves for over almost 19 months. And then all of a sudden, one random weekend away, and it works. Like, what is this? What is life right now? So I'm like super excited, but I'm trying to be chill because I'm like, okay, I haven't taken a digital yet. First response has been kind of iffy with some people, and the easy at home, you just never know. But they were very blatantly positive, especially the easy at home. And I mean, first response was pretty positive too. You could see it pretty well. So went ahead, took the digital. There it was. And it was the best day of my life. And my pregnancy was pretty normal for the most part. First trimester was really rough. The first 12 weeks, I had really, really intense morning sickness. Actually, I had to be put on meds for it. I didn't have the hyperemesis or anything, but it was an all-day thing, and I was constantly gagging. I was throwing up everything I ate. And so I just went on some medication that just helped me. After the 12-week mark, I was fine. Second trimester was great. Didn't have any problems. It was really good. I was really happy most of the time. And, I had some pretty intense prenatal anxiety just with, I was so scared I was going to lose him and miscarry and all that and whatever. But the third trimester, even as hard as it was, I felt the most comfortable as far as mentally, because I'm like, especially after viability week, like that 24, 25 week mark, I was like, okay, like he's good. If he were to be born super early, there's a good chance he would make it. And I didn't worry too much, but I ended up going into the hospital for preeclampsia. My blood pressure ran really high, and he actually came 2 weeks early. He came on March 8th, and he was not due until March 22nd. So, if you guys remember in the earlier part of this video, March 22nd, 2021 was the day of our first fertility consultation. March 22nd, 2022 is when when my son was supposed to be born. Crazy. I know. Absolutely insane. Crazy how God works, I'll tell you that. For people that are religious and are Christians, it's insane to me. God was looking out for me with that. I tell you that. And I look back and I'm so glad that he, got me pregnant when COVID had started to die down, because that would have just been horrendous not having my husband with me and my mom and all that. So, oh gosh, it's getting really long. Okay, so he's here. He's perfect. I love him more than anything in this world, even on our really, really rough nights. He's the best thing ever. Like, I didn't realize how much you could love somebody, a person, I guess. And like I said, my pregnancy was just absolutely amazing. And I loved being able to feel him. And, at one point, like, my husband would come home and he would hear my husband's voice and he would kick. And being pregnant was just, I absolutely loved being pregnant, even with all the anxiety that I had. And there near the end with the, blood pressure and being in pain all the time and everything, and lack of sleep, it was all worth it. My husband and I are definitely going to try again when the safety mark hits, just with my preeclampsia, my doctors wanting me to be super careful. And he was born via C-section too, because somebody didn't want to come out. He wasn't even in my birth canal, nowhere near me, or in the birth canal at all. He was just chilling in there, and I had to be induced, obviously, with the blood pressure. And excuse me, what are we doing? So I had finally gotten to a point. I was 9 centimeters and I was effaced and everything, but he just was not budging. He was not moving or progressing. So they did the C-section and he was born at 8:38 a.m. on March 8th, 2022. And I don't know what he's doing right now. Can we not do this? But yeah, guys. So I might start posting videos again. I'm not really sure. My time is very limited now. And I'm very busy nowadays. So, but I just wanted to get on here and just, I'd always hear with infertility community, like, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Whether you end up getting pregnant, whether you adopt, whether you do surrogacy, IVF, whatever it may be, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and God's going to take care of you no matter what. And, when we had finally let it go and we're just going to let God handle it, he did. And as soon as I took a breath and stopped tracking and stopped worrying and stopped thinking about it 24/7, it's like, boom, here you go. Here's your little miracle that you've been wanting. So anyway, guys, I'm happy, I'm blessed, and I thank God every day for him, even though he's literally squirming and I can't keep track. Anyway, guys, let me let y'all go. I'm going to go get ready for our trip. So we love you guys, and we're praying for all the mamas out there that are trying for their little miracle, and baby dust to all. Bye, guys.